Well, good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. How's your day starting? You see a little smoke in the air today? Yeah, Canada's coming in big time in the air and in the chair. You'll understand that in just a second. I hope you're having a great start to your day. A little comedian today. I'm your host, Monica Adams, the show, The Real Monica Adams. And boy, are we going to get real today. For a longtime friend of mine, he is coming in. You know him, you love him. He's a big teddy bear, but on the ice, he was one of the grittiest players that ever played the sport, and he played for our St. Louis Blues. Tony Twist, my guest today. So St. Louis Blues fans, that's right. Start texting your friends, calling your friends and saying, hey, we want to talk with Tony. An opportunity for you to ask him whatever you'd like. Sometimes if people even feel compelled like they did in radio, if you'd like to join the show, my moderators can actually send a link to you. You can appear on our show or your voice can be heard on the show asking questions. So if you're interested in something like that, just let us know and we can make that happen. We're going to give you some weather, some news you can use. I've got national and local news for you, sports news, and of course, the National Day of Calendar, what is taking place in the day before we get to our interview with Tony. So again, if you're a St. Louis Blues fan, if you're a hockey fan in general, or you just want to thank Tony for staying right here because he could have gone back to Canada, staying here in St. Louis and making this his home. We'll also check on his dear friend and mine as well, Kelly Chase, to see how Kelly's doing. So all of that coming up for you on The Real Monica Adams Show. Let's get to our weather. It's gorgeous. Why can't this weather be on the weekend, though? That's what's so frustrating. We've got beautiful weather on tap again today. Sunshine, 83. We've got another beautiful day on tap tomorrow. In fact, if you've been wanting to go boating or you want to get by the pool, tomorrow is definitely your day. It's going to be humid, 90 degrees. So what was I talking about with regards to Canada coming in twice? Some of you might see a little smoke in the air. That's the Canadian smoke coming into our airwaves. And a lot of you seeing that going, oh, that's what that is. Yep, it's back. Canadian wildfire smoke is in the air here in St. Louis. We get into Thursday, 89 degrees, keeping that stretch of warmer weather. And then into the weekend, yes, yet again, we've got rain in the forecast Friday, Saturday, Sunday on Father's Day. And it just continues all the way into next week with highs pretty much in the upper 80s. Now, our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore, will be back from his vacation on Friday. And again, we're going to ask him the question about whether we're seeing more rain than normal and these tornadic aspects that we've been talking about, whether that is not the norm as well, because for all of us who are not in that industry, we definitely feel like this is not what we would expect. Speaking of the tornadoes, there was a declaration yesterday from our governor, and this is what our area needs. More and more money and assistance coming our way. Governor Kehoe said, coming down from President Trump, that it has been declared a major disaster declaration from the tornadoes that happened on May 16th. President Trump approved the request. In a post on X last night, Governor Kehoe said Trump informed him the request was approved. It came 24 days after the tornado ravaged North St. Louis and killed 5 people. And the mayor, Kara Spencer, says this means we are moving now, finally in the right direction. She said she feels fantastic about federal disaster relief coming to the city, but she tells residents this is just the first bucket of money with more steps and potentially more money to come. Speaking of President Trump, I'm not sure if you saw this, but this was one of the national stories that I saw moving through yesterday afternoon and into last night. Did you see these protests? They actually started over the weekend, and now the president has sent Marines and more National Guard members to Los Angeles. In fact, another 2,000 troops, along with 700 Marines, are headed to L.A. on orders from President Donald Trump, escalating a military presence. Local officials and the governor, Gavin Newsom, don't want, and the police chief says it's creating logistical challenges for safely handling the protest. An initial 2,000 Guard troops ordered by Trump started arriving on Sunday, which saw the most violence during 3 days of protests driven by anger over Trump's stepped-up enforcement of immigration laws that critics say are breaking apart migrant families. And then yesterday's demonstrations were far less raucous, thousands peacefully attending a rally at City Hall, hundreds protesting outside a federal complex that includes a detention center where some immigrants are being held following workplace raids across the city. Trump has described Los Angeles in dire terms that the mayor and Newsom say are nowhere close to the truth. Again, we'll continue to follow this as troops continue to go into the Los Angeles area. Well, we talk about recalls, and this one it has to do with your soda. Are you a Dr. Pepper fan? Well, heads up, listen to this. More than 19,000 cases of Dr. Pepper being recalled. And here's what we know at this point. It's a voluntary recall. It involves 19,203 12-pack and 24-pack cases of 12-ounce cans of Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Labeled as zero sugar, the products were found to contain full sugar, making them unsafe for diabetics and others who need to avoid the ingredient. For reference, a 12-ounce can of regular Dr. Pepper contains, did you ever know this from a nutrition standpoint, 39 grams of sugar. Back on June 5th, the FDA classified the recall as a Class 2. It means it's a product that may cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences. So the recalling firm is listed as Pepsi Beverage Companies in Jacksonville, Florida, authorized for production by CB Manufacturing. Again, 12 or 24-pack carton cases. Best buy date, if you want to look, is February 16th of 2026. I looked, Missouri and Illinois, not one of the affected states, but if I know we've got people from all over the place. If you have family or friends in Florida, in Georgia, or in South Carolina, those states definitely affected by this recall. Well, how about Walmart delivering something to you through a drone? It's something that Walmart and other companies have been wanting to do for a while now. Now they're expanding their drone delivery to more states. The retailer announcing this, expanding the option to 100 new stores over the next several months. Atlanta, Charlotte, Houston, Orlando, Tampa. It's been a buzz actually for many years, but both Amazon and Walmart had struggled to make it work on a large scale. Their expansion will be through the drone company Wing, which is owned by Google's parent company. The store charges $20 for drone deliveries. It's free for Walmart Plus customers, but the company said that it is for a limited time. Walmart said drones can deliver select items in as little, you ready for this? In as little as 30 minutes. I mean, literally, they are truly robots, AI, all taking over the world. Okay, I wasn't familiar with this store, but I did look, and we do have some in the St. Louis area. Torrid is closing multiple stores. Now, they're not clear on which ones yet, but nearly 200 of them will be closing their doors. It's a plus-size clothing store, and they revealed plans to close up to 180 underperforming stores when it announced first quarter earning results. So I looked into our St. Louis area. There is one in the Galleria, additionally one at West County Center, and another one in South County Center, and then there is one in the Chesterfield area. Whether or not those will be affected, that is still news that I'd have to find out for you. When they make that announcement, we'll of course pass it along. All right, I think you know this singer, this entertainer, and rest in peace, sir. Sly Stone, the leader of funk revolutionary Sly and the Family Stone, died at the age of 82. The revolutionary musician and dynamic showman, again, music from the 60s, the 70s, and beyond with such hits as Everyday People, you know, the song Stand or Family Affair. He died on Monday at the age of 82, and he was born Sylvester Stewart. He had actually been in poor health in recent years. His publicist said that he died in L.A., surrounded by family, after contending with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and other ailments. Now to our feel-good stories of the day, and I absolutely love this one. This guy, I think he might be a politician at some point. This 7th grader, and I've got a couple of pictures here, one where I just love how his mom and he are looking at each other. This 7th grader fighting to save an after-school program. In fact, his quote says, "We need this. I need this." Middle school student in Fairfax County, Virginia, proving that anyone at any time can make a difference, regardless of their age. This is Diego Egas. He's been at the forefront of the push to save the middle school after-school program in his area for months now. In fact, like other student advocates, he took his message straight to county leaders. As you see here, this after-school program is changing lives, he said. It's helping us become better students. We need this. I need this. 3 months later, the official word said the program has been saved for the 2025-2026 school year. And he said, "I'm feeling overjoyed." And look at that picture, how he's looking at his mom, and she is just beaming with pride, right? I'd love to see what he goes on to do in his life. And then, of course, we know what happened with the tornadoes in our area. And we know Forest Park was affected big time. You remember the St. Louis Zoo was closed for a bit, and that affected a wedding. But then they got exactly what they wanted. A tornado canceling the zoo's wedding, but they get their hippo ending. The May 16th tornado tore through parts of Forest Park just north of the zoo. It shut down and the wedding plans were then unraveled. Well, Al and Kevin were supposed to get married at the St. Louis Zoo, Allie and Kevin, on May 16th. The hippo exhibit was set to be their ceremony backdrop and meaningful choice for the couple of 8 years who describe themselves as nature lovers. In fact, they said if you're getting married at the zoo, at least one of the animals has to be invited. The couple said they originally thought the zoo would be out of their price range, but after some research, they discovered it was more affordable than many other venues. They fell in love with the idea and the hippos. Kevin said we found ourselves drawn to them more than we thought. Hours before the wedding, of course, the tornado warning changed everything. But then the zoo got together and they not only were able to arrange a surprise to make it up, they presented the couple with a symbolic hippo adoption and an exclusive behind-the-scenes meet and greet. The thing that I saw in this story that I loved so much, but it was more so in a video that I couldn't show you, was they gave them a cute little portrait, which they said was a hippo kiss. And she started crying right after that. And then they were able, instead of people throwing flowers, or them, throwing the flowers back and people throwing rice, they were able to throw treats to the hippo. So it was absolutely cute. So congratulations to the happy couple. All right, how about the Cardinals? They are in action and they lost yesterday 5-4 against Toronto. Let's see if we can dust it off and do it again today by winning. The Blue Jays and the Cardinals' first pitch is at 6:45. And then your National Day of Calendar. We've got a handful of things on tap for you today, where you can have lunch and dessert and the beverage of choice all in one day. National Frosted Cookie Day, that's your dessert. National Egg Roll Day. You can also have an iced tea because it's National Iced Tea Day, and that's fitting for something we're on tap for today at noon. I'll let you know about in just a second. National Forklift Safety Day, National Call Your Doctor Day. It is also National Black Cow Day and National Herbs and Spices Day. So there's a handful of things on tap for you. So I was talking about iced tea. Iced tea, coffee, breakfast burrito, breakfast bowl. Yeah, are your salivatory glands going nuts? Well, all of that you can have at noon today because we're going to Exit 11 Coffee. We have 2 shows on tap. Tony Twist is joining me in just a couple of minutes. And then we're going to gather the team and head over to Eureka because Exit 11 Coffee is having us for a mobile Monica. 527 North Central. We would love to see you at noon. They've got the 11 Wonders. They've got a ton of different coffee options, tea options, and breakfast options. So I'd love for you to come by and have breakfast maybe around lunchtime. They're going to make me try coffee, folks. I've had it when I was in 7th grade. Never wanted to try it again. Accidentally drank my husband Jim's one day, took a sip of it. It's so bitter tasting to me, but she swears that she's going to find something that I'm going to like today. Angela Garland, who was in our studio a couple of weeks ago telling us the backstory of Exit 11. We're going to sit down with her today at her location in Eureka. She's got multiple ones and we'll see what's on the menu. I might be a little barista for the day for you. I'd love to see you there this afternoon. All right, folks, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to sit down with a longtime friend of mine, Tony Twist from the St. Louis Blues. If you are a fan of the Blues alumni, our current St. Louis Blues, and you want to know the man behind the fist, Tony Twist will be our guest coming up next.
Carroll House has the furniture you're dreaming of.
For big family gatherings, for entertaining friends, or just hanging out.
For working from home or resting after work.
For kids growing up or young adults moving out.
Whether you're updating your first home, your next home, or your dream home.
Whatever the reason you're shopping, we have the furniture you're dreaming of at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Just want to say I had an absolutely amazing time getting together with you and talking about how everybody can make a day just a little bit better than it was yesterday. You're doing tremendous things. I just love the spirit in which you want to help those around you and help your community. You've always been like that. What a great time. What a great show. I love our fellowship. I look forward to doing more with you in the future and checking out a few of these churches and seeing where our paths are going to cross and what kind of fun and entertainment and love we can bring to the table. I love this, and I think you're doing a killer job, so love you.
This is my wonderful role model, one of my best friends.
She's, oh my gosh, you got a long life. You could probably live to be 130 or something. And I said, oh God, I hope not.
It's getting hot in here. Don't take off all your clothes.
I'm not going to take off my clothes. On the radio tape, going to be
Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. We're gonna speak. We're not gonna spank anybody. We're gonna speak about knowing your value, and then I'm gonna.
I'm going to spank them.
If you don't know your value and you don't grab hold of how important you are, I'm gonna spank you. Folks, you never know what you're gonna get with her.
Serious though.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're getting real. Let's just bring them in. Tony and I were just talking. We're visiting over old times. If you don't know Tony Twist, today at the end of this show, you're going to go, I had no idea. How are you, my friend?
I'm
first
doing
of all?
very well.
Thank you
well.
for.
I'm going to do exactly what you told me not to do.
Are you normally up this early?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Okay. Because some people come in here and go, holy cow, Monica, this is early. I was like, this is nothing.
Oh.
What time do you get up?
Usually, well, depending on what the sun's doing, anywhere between 4:30 and 5 right now. And then, my body's very in tune to light. So, as I hate the time change because that just
It
puts
doesn't even make any sense to me.
It kills me. My body, my body clock is very attuned to that. So, that's when it gets light out, even at 7:30 in December, if it's dark, I'm still up at 6. But when I'm not working, I'm still up at 5 and 6. And then when I want to go to bed if I go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm still up at 4 or 5 or 6.
All right, that was going to say what time you go to bed.
Well, that's a varies. I mean, I can live on 2 or 3 hours of sleep, but only for a year or two.
Only for a couple days,
only for a
maybe.
couple days. Exactly.
Look, we're coming straight out of the gate. This is how it's going to be. This is Tony Twist. I hope you knew of his career, former St. Louis Blues player, during the time that I was a sports reporter. So I don't know if you all know that, but I covered sports for 12 years.
Boy, did you ever.
So I knew these guys. We're going to go into the locker room. We're going to talk about some stories.
Okay.
We're going to get as real can be.
Uh-oh.
And then here's the thing. So from Canada, if you can't hear from the accent, I talked about it. I said
there's no accent. Mine's pretty much gone.
No, it's still there.
Well, you mean to speak to Reed?
Oh, that's
when you talk to Reed, it's pretty good. It's almost Minnesotan.
So you grew up in Canada. What area?
Well, actually, my dad was an RCMP officer, and I was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and then Calvington, then Kamsack, or reverse Kamsack, Calvington. No, Calvington, Kamsack, and then he got transferred to British Columbia, Prince George. So between the ages of 0 to 7, I guess, was in Saskatoon, and then he got transferred to British Columbia in Prince George, which is the central interior. You got actually Prince George is like in the middle of British Columbia. At that time, you'd actually have to come out of the woods to hunt. That's how far out you were.
Wow.
And it was good. It was a pulp and paper industry, and then father got transferred to Kamloops, and that's where we ended up at the age of uh, 17, 16, 17. Now, when Dad got transferred, I stayed in Prince George because I was playing junior hockey with the Spruce Kings, and then got picked up when ended up going to Saskatoon. But I did make my home in Kamloops in British Columbia, and that's only with the Coquihalla Highway. It's about 3.5 hours from Vancouver.
I've never been to Canada. It is on my bucket list. I know. I hear.
Shame on you.
I know. I don't. And I also hear that from the Niagara Falls standpoint that you've got to be on the Canadian side. That it's prettier.
It is, but here, that's not going to Canada.
That's true.
That's mailing it in, putting a check mark in the box. Niagara Falls.
Well, what if I saw?
Congratulations.
Yeah, I could see it for a day. Then where would I go? What would be the trip that Tony Twist would design for
British
someone?
Columbia.
Okay.
But Vancouver's a beautiful city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lord! And then you got Victoria on Victoria Island. That's that's just a ferry ride away. British Columbia's gorgeous. Now, don't get me wrong. Ontario's nice. Nothing compares to BC.
Okay.
You're sitting between two mountain ranges. You got the Kootenays on one side. You got the Rocky Mountains on the other. It is.
We got to make this happen.
I mean, if you do anything, going to Canada is I meant to go to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like somebody going, I want to go to America. What are you talking about? Canada's bigger than the U.S. is.
Yep.
And they have there's a plethora of more things to see, nature-wise. We're not near as populated in relation. And then the farther north you go, the cooler stuff you see. Well, because up in my dad and I were fishing, we went to the northern regions of British Columbia. I could hear and see the northern lights.
Oh, see, that's
so.
I can't wait to see.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
We didn't even have to break into the Alaskan area or into the Northwest Territories. We were in the upper end of the northern part of British Columbia, and you can hear and see the northern lights. It's impressive.
Again, for all of you, and we're going to look at comments, by the way, feel free to drop in anything in throughout the live show or when we actually just went on and Tony's like, this is live to tape. I'm like, this is live to live. So you all can comment. You can ask any questions from knowing Tony. Maybe you've met him. He's very big into giving his heart and soul, which is what I love. You and I have auctioneered and MC'd together many times for Responder Rescue. Shout out to our dear friend, Pat Byrne. Love you to death for everything that you've done. And so he and I have always given of our time for 30 years being involved in many different charities. So he's got this big heart, even though a lot of you knew him as the enforcer on the ice. One of the articles I read about you was you and other players that they list you in the top 20 of the most grittiest players to ever play the sport. You agree with that?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, no doubt, eh?
That's what I was waiting for.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at this picture on the right here. I haven't seen
that was a joke. So
Wait
Mark Buckner and I were doing a photo session. It was for, I believe it was Mrs. Fields cookies or something like that.
That was for Mrs. Fields cookies?
Well, no. So it was, no. So as a joke, we put this on, and I said, Mark, whatever you do, don't get that out on the internet. And of course, it got out, and that's kind of a. It was a joke. It was supposed to be funny.
It is funny. You got me laughing.
So it didn't bother. At the end, when it hit.
How old are you there?
I was like 10.
That's a lot of hair on your face for a 10-year-old.
What was I, 26 or 27 maybe?
So, okay, you're how tall?
I'm like 6'1" and like 6'8" with an afro.
How big, muscular-wise, are you there? As far what's your weight there?
I was in the program. So
exactly. Thank you. Can we go to that?
Okay.
As a media reporter, I would look at these, and then I would look at like size. As far as height, and I would be like, no, they're not. Who put those in there?
Here's the thing. Most players will improve their height and improve their weight when they're put in the program. I went the opposite way, and I'll tell you why. I was 6'1". I can't get around the height thing.
Right.
But at one point I had in the program, I weighed 250 to 260, depending on the month, and I was a big boy.
Yeah.
Well, I put 250 or 245 in the program, and I wasn't getting any action, which, isn't really what I need.
Right.
So then I dropped it down to 235.
And then
right?
suddenly,
Get a little more action. But really, I played it, anywhere between 245 and 260, depending on the day.
that's a big boy.
Well, but my role was
Yeah.
very clearly defined,
Yes.
which I really enjoyed when I got to. Here's a great story. So when I was with Quebec, and I was an unrestricted free agent. I got a call when I was in BC at Mom and Dad's house, and Mike Keenan calls me and he said, "Would you be interested in coming back to St. Louis?" And I'm like, "Oh boy, I'd love to," because I got traded in '91, in January or February '91, or 91, and I said I'd love to. So Mike Keenan says to me, he goes, "How many minutes in a hockey game?" And I go, "Well, 60." And he goes, "Nope. No, it's 360. There's 6 players on the ice. 6 times 6 is 36. He said, there's going to be the whole team. There's 20 players. 60 minutes are going to be monopolized by your goaltender. So now there's only 300 minutes left in the game." I said, "Okay, your 2 top defensemen are going to log, between 25 and 30 minutes. So we'll just round it up to 30 minutes. So that's another 60. So now you're down to 240. All right. So your other 2 defensemen, they're going to log 20. Now you got 6 defensemen. Your top 4 monopolized the majority of that. So you got 40 minutes out. Now you're down to 200 minutes. And as you go through the first line, second line, third line, you're down to, as you tick through that, you're down to about 4 or 5 minutes. Now he's explaining this. It was my first time talking, Mike. And he goes, "There's about 4 or 5 minutes left." And he goes, "I forgot, there's penalty killing and power play. We're in the minuses now." And he goes, "So what minutes are you going to?" I said, "None." He goes, "Awesome." What he was explaining to me was my role, defining my role as what my job is going to be. Meaning I'm going to be on the bench. I might be a grocery stick, and that grocery stick keeps the forwards from mixing up with the defensemen.
Okay.
But my role was clearly defined, and that was to be an imposing force, to produce thought in both my bench and the other one, that I'm not here to produce violence, nor am I here to produce anything. But if you misbehave, there's a nuclear weapon on this bench that'll be launched. You
And
launch
boy,
yours.
was it.
And so mutually assured destruction. You go after a guy like Chris Pronger or Al McGinnis or Brett Hall. Understand, I'm coming after your best player.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, does the other team want that? No. Guy Carbonneau, who played for Montreal, said it best. And I love it because I had no idea that at that age I had the impact. So Quebec and Montreal had a very big rivalry. You got 2 French cities that, I'm telling you what, it was a great rivalry. But so whenever we came into town, he's the captain, mind you, of the Montreal Canadiens. He was for a while, a very respected man. To the boys, no matter if we were coming to them or they were coming to us, boys, whatever you do, play the game. We do not want Tony Twist out on the ice. Don't give him a reason. And I was like, holy are you kidding me? That's the captain of Montreal Canadiens. He said that, he goes, "Twister." I said it every time because we didn't want to deal with him.
We don't want to deal with you.
And they gave me the nickname from the Munsters. The hand that walked. That's what the media gave me that.
Oh, I know.
What was the hand called? It was
It.
It.
Yeah.
They called me It.
Yeah.
Because he was right-handed, and that's what I was. So they called me It every time. It's coming to town.
It's
Oh my
coming
God.
to town. If you're just tuning in again, former St. Louis Blues alumni, Tony Twist, a dear friend for over 3 decades, and you are one of the best friends of someone that one of the very first St. Louis Blues that I ever interviewed, and it was for the Gateway hockey team.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how is he, by the way? Because a lot of people are there. He has a great picture of the 2 of you. How is he doing? Because he was in with us. He actually came in on my birthday. Was it last year? Last year or 2 years ago?
You have a birthday every year?
I do. Do you?
Oh no.
No.
I'm a leap
Do you
year.
celebrate birthdays? Are you a leap year?
No.
Oh,
I'm
darn.
just saying things.
You, by the way, can never believe anything out of Tony's mouth. No, that's not true. How is Chaser doing?
I've been speaking to him quite regularly. He's doing well. Don't misunderstand me. But right now the leukemia there's nothing in the body, but he's doing battle right now, unfortunately, with some infections, intestinal and stomach infections. He's in the hospital right now, being, what is it? It's June 10th.
Mm-hmm.
June 10th. He's in the hospital today. He's been there for the last 2 days, because Bruce Affleck just recently retired from the Blues, and they threw a party, whatever. Go Bruce. Thank
Yes,
you.
Bruce, we love you.
Yeah, I love you to death, Bruce. I didn't make it because I forgot. So I apologize, Bruce. Anyways, he did the event, and he went immediately. He had to leave the event earlier, and on his way to his place in Clayton,
Carbon?
Yeah.
Carbon?
No, his home in
Oh,
Clayton. Doctor picked him up, took him to the hospital, and as of yesterday, everything's working better.
okay.
But he was 140 pounds.
Yeah, last time I saw him, I was like, wow, he looks so
140 pounds.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, this is not degrading when I say this at all. He resembled what you would look like if you were in Auschwitz.
Yeah.
I mean, even now he'd gained 15 pounds. He was 141, and as of like 4 days ago, he'd hit 155.
Okay, good.
And things were going great. And then the stomach thing. Now, he hasn't lost a bunch of weight, but again, I feel so bad for him because
I know.
he's toughing it out.
He is.
He's not a whiner. He
Nope.
doesn't complain. And I tell you what, I really challenge, after watching what he's going through and how he handles it, I don't know if I don't know if I could do it as well, or even handle how.
Really?
Oh, he's taking it like a man.
He
And
is.
I promise you this, till you put those shoes, I never want to do that.
No.
I don't, and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I don't know if I could. The way he's doing it's fantastic.
It's phenomenal. I mean, you literally see him, and that's the thing about Chaser. Again, we're going to look at your comments here in a second. We'll take a quick break. If you don't know Kelly Chase and you just know him from watching him as an athlete, yes, he was amazing. The two of them, Twist and Chase, we loved the two of them together. They were phenomenal friends on and off the ice. We loved watching that friendship play out. But did you actually know him as a human being? He is. And so is Tony. They're so giving of what they want for St. Louis, for charities. That man, and you the same. I've got I love these questions that I have from a dear friend of ours that I'm going to get to. But it was, Kelly told the story about Chase came in. He was going to bust me out of here and came in the hospital.
Yeah. We'll get to that if you'd like.
Yes. So he's the kind of friend, as is Chase, that you need something at 2:00 in the morning, you can get him out of bed and he'll be right there for you. And that's, Chase was talking about, I'm in the hospital. They're telling me I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm getting on the bicycle. I'm doing jumping jacks. He's just trying to keep his body, because again, if you give up on yourself, if your spirit and your mind give up, you're done.
Well, let me tell you, the most important thing, and I think that I've learned, and Chaser's definitely, he's definitely practicing, is your head. Is the most important part of what he's going through. Is you keep that strong, and you're doing a lot of things that maybe the doctors or somebody else have not admiration for. But at the end of the day, it serviced him well. He knows what he needs to do to keep himself active. I tell you what, I applaud him every day. I talked to him yesterday, and all the leaps, all the progression he makes, and then gets knocked to the floor.
Yeah.
All the progression gets knocked to the floor. You would think that would wear somebody down at some point. I mean, he's been doing this for a few years, and now catastrophically in the last two.
Yeah.
I don't know how he picks the ball up and runs with it.
It's here and here. You're right, because the body will break down on you, but you got to keep that mind.
Keeping it strong here. If I have anything to lend to anybody, not speaking on a personal level in this capacity, the stronger you are up here, your body will follow. And he is a living example of how that's being executed. It's phenomenal. Always keep that in the back of your mind, because the game and arena is always the same. The game remains the same.
Yes.
If the arena changes, if you're the president of the United States, the same things that I'm doing or we did in the dressing room, things we're doing today, that game remains the same.
Right.
The arena just changes.
Exactly.
There's always roles of people in your life that do, that are Senate people. You got your governors, and then you've got. It is the same thing, except it's just a different
The
arena.
arena changes,
Yeah.
right? Right. All right, everybody. Again, if you're just tuning in, former St. Louis Blues enforcer Tony Twist, our guest. If you have any comments, questions for him,
Keep them nice.
no, this is real, right? Go ahead and drop in. We've got so much more to talk about. We'll have more with Tony when we return.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
Alcock bounces around to Scott Walker. Scott Walker fakes. There's a fight breaking out at center ice while the play is going on. Malcock to Walker. We got two games going on. A potential fight at center ice between Twist and Stoyanov. They're going to fight, but the play is still going on. Finally, it stops. Well, here we have Twist and Stoyanov. Are they ever going to throw a punch? Well, here we go. These are tough guys, I'll tell you. Twist with more experience. And he gets the upper hand. Twist and Stoyanov separated by the officials. Some people actually came to see that tonight.
And welcome back. Thanks again for tuning in to the Real Monica Adams Show with the real Tony Twist. We're going to get real here for you. Again, we're going to go to comments. Yeah, there are a lot of fake people out there, right?
What, dressing up like us on two chairs?
Probably on two chairs.
Just talking about what we don't do because they're not us?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Because they're bullies and jealous.
That's weird.
We used to have the blue chair, by the way, which is out there. We have our set before the set. So a lot of you were used to us in the old studio having the blue chair. We actually hashtag, yes, you sat on. So we have hashtag in the blue chair, which was very fitting. He could have been in the blue chair today. For those of you that are fans of the Blues or maybe not.
That's fine.
It's real.
Absolutely. You can't. Why does everybody have to be a Blues fan?
It's very true. Luann says, good morning. Love Twist. He made watching hockey fun. Rose,
thanks, Luann.
Wish we had a Tony Twist on our Blues team now. Okay, we're going to talk about the team now.
Unfortunately, Tony Twist in today's Blues team wouldn't exist because I couldn't catch any of them.
So, but also that point, when you played and when I was covering back then, there were many more fights. It was such a different game, and people now are like, I don't even enjoy watching anymore. Do you agree with that the game has changed a lot over the years?
Now, whether you enjoy it or not because of the fighting or not, that's all a personal. That's a personal opinion. Me personally, I don't like the game the same. I do admire a lot the talent pool. Has grown immensely. There is no place for a guy like myself on any team across the league to sit on the bench. There isn't. There's no space for me. There's legitimately not a spot because at the level that I played, at my peak, I didn't have that skill set. My skill set was relegated to do what I do to make everybody play honestly.
Right.
Is there a spot on those teams now for that player? 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. And you asked me, do I watch the game or why I don't? The crest was the most important thing in the world when I played. Every player that I talked to that played in our era, the crest was the most important. The nameplate did not mean stuff. Meaning that everything, it never crossed your mind. Once you entered that arena, once you entered that dressing room, you were no longer a single person. You were 20 strong, and you never contributed as an individual. You contributed as a team member, as a sacrifice also, meaning even though you could elevate yourself by putting yourself in a position where an opportunity to get a stray puck out, get a shot on net. But you realize that, there's that opportunity, but you need to get gritty in the corner. You're not a perimeter player. You sacrifice your body to take a hit to make the play, meaning that you're going to get crushed, but you still make the play because that play could give opportunity for the team to elevate. That was how we played. You would never see a guy like Kyrou doing what he did to Chief ever, because you would get lynched.
Sure.
In our dressing room, you get lynched. You'd be lynched in practice.
Yes.
And all the media would come by. What's that about? And you know what we'd say? I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're talking about. Well, we saw it. Are you high? I had no idea. And there would be tight lip, and that's not discussed. That was just what we did. And that kept that cohesion. I mean, watertight like a Dutch S. So tight. And that is a generation of hockey players that I admire.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't admire these guys now, but we have no jumping off platform. There's no starting point for the mentality. Now, don't get me wrong, and you're watching the Stanley Cup. Now the players in the playoffs and during the Stanley Cup, pretty much all of them have that attitude. But over the course of the season,
right.
that attitude's sacrificed.
Correct.
And I'm going to call out a player like Kyrou right now. We paid him a lot of money to score. He had to score one goal. There's only one. I mean, we were one goal away. He did not produce once, not one time during the playoffs this year. That's what you're paid for.
Right.
A guy like Joe Murphy, God love him, he's having a tough run of it. But Joe was the type of player that no matter what team he played for, he was a clutch player. He got paid good money to be a clutch player, and he produced.
Well,
Joe, every playoff series he was producing. He won the Stanley Cup for the Oilers. His finishing ability, but over the course of the season, he still contributed. But his ability in the
playoffs.
Oh my God! That made him who he was.
Well, and Tony, that's exactly what all of you that are fans, you follow all year. Let's break it all down. You follow all year. Hopefully, you take all of your hard-earned money. You go to a game. We know how expensive it is. Try to bring an entire family to that. They're there. They're expecting you to perform, and then they get frustrated because they leave and they're like, "Come on." It doesn't matter who the player is, but if we want to call out Kyrou, you're expecting him to deliver, and the fans get frustrated, and they're thinking, well, you're paid all of this money. This is when you're supposed to perform for us. So, yes, they feel what you're saying.
Well, and they should. And not every fan sees or recognizes what we as players, as retired players see when we're watching the game, because the mentality and the vision that a guy that used to play is directly related to, we may be up here now, but we remember being the best seat in the house for 10 years. Sitting on that bench. So the vision of the game is completely different. So the things some of the fans see or don't see is very relevant in our heads. With that said, you are correct. The fans should be upset, and they should be, they should be disappointed. And however you display the disappointment, that's completely up to yourself. There's no such thing as an armchair quarterback or armchair coach in any sport. Don't get me wrong. You can think that but don't kid yourself. Yeah. You have no idea what went into that trade. You have no clue. You might think you do, but the real discussion of why it was made may be prevalent if it's obvious. But the ones that everybody's questioning, you have no idea.
Well, let's talk about during the time that you were there. Obviously, we loved you. He was one of the staples. There were probably as many twist jerseys in those stands as there were Hull jerseys. And the people who turned on Hull, I'm going to tell you right now, I was dear friends with Hull, and it ticked me off when all of a sudden he would come back and play, and they would all boo. And I'm like, really? He's half the reason that you're sitting in these seats right now.
Well, that's St. Louis.
But
God love them.
It was frustrating, though, because I always talk to the athletes, and they were like, oh, St. Louis fans are
they loved them, Monica.
Really?
That means they loved them.
You're going to tell me that a guy who threw a beer on me because I had a Hull jersey on?
Well, that's disrespectful.
Yes,
Hold on. That's a whole different ballgame. You should never be part of that. That's brutal. Whoever did that doesn't respect the game of sports. That's disgusting.
I turned around and he goes, I can't believe you have a Hull jersey.
It was a male that did it?
Yeah. And
that's even worse.
Well, and you know my husband, so I'm surprised. Well, you tell me what you would have done, right? So if you were my husband, that happened, What would you have turned around and done?
Nothing immediately because the cameras are on me.
Ah, good point.
I'd be very quiet, but I would make sure that I follow them on the way out.
Yeah, there you go.
And if it wasn't the time then, I can guarantee you the license plate number will get you there. Meaning this, there's no spot, in today's society, no male, I mean, a female, I mean, I don't was disrespectful too, but at least, okay. But a male to do that to a female in any age is disgusting. It makes me, that's awful. You should never have to experience that. But the fans booing Holly, they wouldn't boo him if he wasn't good.
Exactly.
I mean, if he didn't change the momentum in the game here in St. Louis.
And then went on to win the Stanley Cup, which everybody, I know. And then again, I know.
And then, yes.
Right, well, and of course, we finally, I can't believe I wasn't here for it. We finally, this city gets its Stanley Cup. And now people are saying, will it ever happen again?
Well, very well, how many years did we go? It was 1968, 67, 68?
Yep.
And our first Stanley Cup was when? Right. It took all those years. I mean,
we hope it won't take as long again.
I mean, is the opportunity there? Absolutely. Excuse me. But that all comes down to, again, what we were talking about. But as the game changes, so does Darwinism is not exclusive to, again, Darwinism is the same thing in the game of hockey as the evolution of the game changes. People get weeded out. My role was weeded out.
Right.
It was no longer, as the game changed, the evolutionary chain said that, well, my DNA has been eliminated for a reason.
But look at the fan favorites, Tony. I can look at you.
I'm not saying it's right.
No, correct. I mean, look, I could look at you. I could look at Twister. I can look at Reed Lowe. I mean, Pronger. We could go on and on and on of those players are not in the sport anymore. And I see a lot of people that are like, yeah, I don't watch anymore because I miss that game. And I get that. Again, I'm going to look at your comments in a second.
Okay.
He was talking about on being on the bench. I have a story from a friend of ours that he wants you to tell about you being on the bench and going and giving some money to a kid to get you some nachos because you weren't playing.
Is that in Toronto or is that here?
I think it was here.
Because I know that Grant Fuhr and I, Fuhrsy and I were in Toronto and we got caught on, because I when, a place like Toronto, I may have not seen the ice maybe once, so at the end of the bench, and Fuhrsy was the backup, and we're sitting, and now the Toronto Arena, he's literally sitting in the stands, okay, because the bench wasn't big enough, so if Fuhrsy's literally, I mean, he is in the stands.
Yeah.
Both of us are hungry, so we ordered food and we're sneaking it, and I think we got caught. We didn't get caught on camera, but there was enough people that knew what was going on.
No, he said, ask him about bringing money out of the locker room between periods, asking a fan to get him a hot dog and nachos because he wasn't playing, and how the coach saw him and made him then play.
Yeah, well, I don't know what he's talking about, but you are correct. I don't know who that was, but maybe I did. Yeah, maybe I did.
I'm gonna do
and that's not the first time either. It happened on a couple occasions. Again, understanding, I was on the roster. I wasn't necessarily there to play.
So
I was there to make sure things didn't happen, but I get hungry in between time,
I've always said that. I'm like, while they're playing, they're hungry if they're not playing. I think they got to go to the bathroom. There's so many thoughts of, what do you guys do?
You just pee your pants. You just pee your pants.
Awesome.
Who would know?
Only you. And the guy who does the laundry.
I mean, not even he would know.
No.
At the end of the day, you smell it. You smell like chlorine anyways.
That's very true. The smells in the locker room, I'm going to tell you right now. Well, you know what? Let me ask this question.
Monica, you have to admit, the smelliest. It's the gloves and walking through that I mean, it's a stench.
But you know what? Look, I was in the football locker rooms, the baseball locker rooms, hockey. I'd say football and hockey were the worst.
Well, yeah, because the baseball players aren't putting they're not. Yeah. A guy who's playing 20 minutes a game or half, I mean, they're pumping out 4 liters of water. They're sweating out.
Yep.
I mean, that's a gallon that's going out the pores. And at some point when you don't have enough fluid, you're starting to wash out other things that smell.
Let's do this before we get to this rundown. Going into the locker room, what is your thought of women being in the locker room as reporters, and then guys wanting to come back going, well, if women are allowed in, then we should be allowed into the women's locker room?
I don't know why I don't know why a man would be in a woman's locker room anyways, except you're a pervert. Because really, name me one guy that's watching women's basketball Name me one male that you know that's watching the WNBA.
I don't know any.
Okay. Well, why would we want to be in there? Because I don't know a man, let alone a female that watches it. What sport would you want to be as a male going into that? I would feel extremely awkward.
Correct. But so did I will tell you. So did I.
But there's a spot for you and you did it respectfully.
Thankfully.
When you came into the dressing room, you were respectful. There was reporters, male and female, that were bird watchers.
I know.
Which is extremely disrespectful. And that 1% or 0.5% of those, and don't be confused, there's male and female, okay? But because you're a female and you are a anomaly in the dressing room, your opportunity, you have to prove yourself every night. You have to come in and be the pressure that you had coming into that until you made bones. When you had bones, guys were happy, but it took a time for you to make bones. Now you go out of town or you see another team. Now you're back to having to make bones, which is it's tremendously hard for for somebody like yourself. And I recognized it, and the guys did too. But once you're and you're going to be tested.
Oh,
you're going to be tested. You passed phenomenally, and you were given grant. You were given a pass to do what you do because of how you operated. My opinion is that the way you did your job, and it's actually really unfortunate you were put on that kind of pedestal to have to work that hard to get what you needed to do, because you're no different than anybody else, but you had to work 3 times as hard.
Correct.
Or more. And you had to be so mindful of questions and where you look,
and
what time am I coming into the dressing room? I need to get this interview, but they're in the locker.
I'm so glad we're talking about this, because I've had a lot of people still to this day that will say, all right, tell me the stories of the locker room. And I'm like, well, what do you want to know? I'll tell you there were women that worked during the same time that I did, that were simply in there trying to meet somebody. They're trying to hook up with one of the players, married or not married. And then, of course, you get lumped into that of, oh, is that what you're trying to do?
Too,
I know.
But here, the unfortunate part is sometimes when you're accepted in that dressing room, then you're no different than anybody else. So in the middle of an interview, there will towel drop. It's not because you're female.
No, I know.
Absolutely. That has nothing to do with it. When you're accepted and you're invited to participate in that brotherhood, you're no different. So you may, and you took it properly, when other women may not have taken it properly, but hold on, that's telling you, we love you.
There's the trust.
Exactly. Oh, there's the trust factor, and how you take that is completely up to yourself. But that would never happen if we didn't like you, because you'd be shunned.
There were a lot of fans that used to say, well, how come you guys can't wait and let them get dressed? Like when Gretzky played with us.
Why do you have to wait?
No, it was, no, they think overall, whether it's a male or a female reporter, why do you guys have to be there when they're naked? Why don't you wait till they all get in their suits and then go into a conference room? I know.
You know the answer.
Timing.
Because it's all about, you need to get the emotion. You need to be able to, who is the best one quip? And I already know the answer. Who is the best at a win, a loss? During my era, what player was able to give you one-liners? If you need a cutaway, if you need going into the news, going into sports, what players would you engage with, knowing you're going to get a good controversial or a good piece, not your standard, well, we played pretty well tonight and we put our best effort in. They really did a great job. Oh, I hate those answers. You can insert the same question back in 1930.
Play this from a year ago.
I mean, every player the same way, but players. There you go.
Yeah.
Why?
Hull was great. Gretzky was great, although he was here for a short time period, but what a class act. McKenna Chopper was phenomenal. You were great. Chaser was great.
When did you get those great liners?
In the locker room when you all had to be.
Do you think you'd get that later?
No.
Absolutely. The motion's starting to drain out. The decompression. You need to be able to have the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
The game just ended.
Right.
All the fans have the same emotion. You have to bring the player to the emotion because they're sharing the same things.
Right.
But if you interview the player an hour later, all right, the same emotion that everybody in the stand shared, is gone. It's downplayed. Now you don't have that fury. You don't have that aggressive. You don't have any of that.
Right.
Or the accolades or the adulation is gone.
Well, and can't we apply that to life? I tell my clients that I personal train, what you're feeling right now, whether you're defeated or whether it is this high, write it down, take it immediately out or record yourself. Remember that feeling. And then they'll ask me, why are you taking pictures? Why are you recording? I want you to see your transformation. I want to see that progress. But I am immediately, I was taught old school by my mentor when I became a personal trainer. I was always writing down so I could go back and look, wow, look at that weight I was pushing. Look at these reps I would do.
Right.
It's very easy to lose it and not remember and then, knock yourself down going, I can't believe I only did this. Oh, but a month ago, oh, shoot, I wasn't even lifting 10 pounds. Right. So you got to remember that where that emotion comes from. Okay. I want to take another quick break. We'll look at your comments and then we're going to get into some rapid fire questions here for Tony Twist, former St. Louis Blues player. Bring it. Yes.
Bring it.
We'll be right back.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Doesn't that look good, Tony? You need that in your backyard.
So that pet outfit I was talking. Oh, we're back on TV. Go ahead. What is that?
Look at that pool.
That's gorgeous.
I know, right? You need one of those, folks. If you are looking to have a pool built in the backyard for you, maybe your family, whether it's in ground or above ground, Just Pools, we want to thank them for being one of our many great sponsors. We love them over in Arnold, right?
That's Rich.
Yep, 3987 West Outer Road South in Arnold. Welcome back to them, by the way, because they were with us last year. They came back on again as one of our sponsors. And we want to thank Madonna and the staff sitting down with us and walking us through. When you drive down 55, by the way, that's what you see, and that could be in your backyard. So right now, Madonna said that they have 10% off the Clear Results chemicals that you need to keep your water looking that beautiful, as well as all the fun toys and the games. 10% off right now. They are an authorized Pentair warranty dealership. Just Pools Pool and Spa Specialist again in Arnold. Give them a call. Tell them you saw them on the Monica Adams Show.
And they just got those tablets that if you pee in the pool, it turns red around you. That's a lie.
I know, right? My dad used to always go, tell your friends that we'll know. It'll follow them in a line behind them. If you're just tuning in, again, I hope you're enjoying our interview. If you missed any part of it and you got to rush off to work, come on back. That's the beauty of streaming, that you can watch the rest of it. Okay, any comments? Rose said, thanks, Tony, for being raw. Glenn wants to know, who was the toughest guy you fought?
That's an easy question because I don't have an answer, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There was no reason for me to have an answer. And if I did have an answer to that, I would no longer be able to captivate and hold the spot up here at the height anymore. The reason being, and I mean this with all sincerity, people ask me all the time, did you not... Hold on. Every player that I fought, regardless, big, small, didn't matter. Way up here, way down here. I treated them all the same. The reason being is if you put anybody on a pedestal, you put any player above another player, you're already mentally, you're losing the game. Because if you think that this guy here is really tough and you're nervous, hold on. He's beating you before he hit the ice.
Yeah.
You're right. He's already inside your head.
In your head. You go back
My
to
job was to get inside your head. And I did a very good job of doing that. So what the answer to the question is, I had some great hard fights. Did I elevate or the toughest fight? They were all the toughest. You're only one punch away from losing your teeth. You're one punch away from not playing the game. Everybody's tough till they get hit. So I knew I was going to get hit, but it didn't matter who, because it could have been anybody. So you have to prepare yourself as soon as you elevate or you de-escalate somebody. He's only 5'10" or whatever.
I got him.
I got this.
Right.
You don't prepare. Oh,
he's got you.
You could be night, and then you got 20,000 in the arena, and you got everybody watching, and then all over Canada, all over the U.S., Tony Twist loses to X and now you're embarrassed. Why? It's like Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson came back and gets out of jail in his first fight, it was with forget his name. He didn't prepare. And he got destroyed. And he should have never. He just he thought he was much better.
Right.
Well, there's a lesson to be learned there. That's truth.
Well, that's a lesson in life. When you think you're at the top of your game, remember there's people climbing up that ladder ready to just take it from you.
You're at the top of your game, but it doesn't mean you're the top of the heap.
Correct. Absolutely. Again, if you've got a comment or question for Tony, just drop it in now or later. We can see it later as well when it's on the stream, and I'll have my my team keep an eye to the comments as well. All right, let's run through some of these.
Got some rapid fire.
We've got some. We're also going to give you some behind the scenes things that you don't know. Okay, you're an amazing cook, I'm told.
Yes, enjoy to cook. That's my mom's. My mom's a French Canadian, and she takes cooking very serious. And real butter, margarine was non-existent. You name it. I take that skill set that I learned from mom, and I love to eat.
What's your best dish you make?
Well, I'm a steak guy,
okay,
but I make a multitude of different. All of them are carnivorous. I make a great pork tenderloin, pork chops, stuffed chicken, chicken breast, cordon bleu, anything steak related. I love steak tartare. Now that's a skill set, but the steak tartare is all relevant to how you feel. There's so many different flavors. I like mine the best. Yes, I love to cook.
So on Father's Day, will you be by the, well, it's going to rain, but will you be by the grill or by a smoker?
When's Father's Day?
Sunday.
I don't know where I'll be. I might be working. I don't, He's a
very hard worker, by the way.
I have no clue. If I'll be cooking, I don't want to watch somebody else cook.
I know. See, I was going to say.
I can't do it.
They say that fathers are supposed to have the day off, but they love what they do.
No, it's Dad's day, so let me do what I want.
That is a good point. How many children do you have?
2.
And how old are they now?
33, 34.
I remember getting a press photo, and I don't know why at the time. You and your wife at the time.
Jocelyn?
Yes, and Jocelyn was in PR, so I don't know if I got it from her or what, but it was a picture of you and Jocelyn, and they were very, very young. And just, they have this cutest little baby cheek.
They look the same, by the way.
They do still?
Oh, yeah. My daughter looks a spitting image of Jocelyn. She really is. And Christian, if you were to take my picture, my hockey card from Peoria, and then look at him now, you might not know the difference.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Spitting image. He works with me, and a heck of a kid, I tell you. But he looks like me.
I remember reading an article, and this is where we're going to get really real. I remember reading an article, this is many, many years ago, and it after you divorced from Jocelyn, and then you met April.
Yep.
During that time, Jocelyn made her comment about why the marriage didn't work, and then you were like, I don't know, I don't agree with that. Are you amicable now? How is the relationship with you and their mother?
Well, the relationship is there isn't one, and not because when we had departed, there was no leverage or no ground for us to get back, and there was immaturity on both ends. And
well, you were. How old were you when you met her?
18?
Yeah.
18 or 19. No marriage goes without two sides. All right. No, there's no such thing. Two people, when they're happy, you never hear them going, well, we're so happy, let's get divorced. Yeah. All right. There's always two contributors. Always. I don't care if you think you've been the best. No, there's always two contributors. Right. And I was a contributor and Jocelyn was a contributor. And I'm not giving up excuses at all, for my actions, not trying to make any for hers either. Both of us understood that there was the responsibility on both ends. As a consequence, when we had departed, the only two variables were the children. And that was decided. And after that was decided, we both moved on. I've had maybe 3 conversations in the last 25 years.
Oh, really?
26 years.
Does she live here? She
lived here for a while. Then she went to Hawaii. Then she went to Tahiti. And, I followed where she was going through the kids. And
sure.
And here's the thing. I never said a bad word about her ever
huge.
To the children.
That's huge.
That's not huge. That's what a man
should
do.
No, I don't mean for you. And I mean in general for people to understand that. When you start going off on your child's mother or father, you've
don't
got
do that.
Major, correct.
Don't do that.
Yes.
You got to feel your ego that way. Do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But don't ever do that. The kids don't deserve that. And Jocelyn did the same for me also.
Yeah.
We never spoke ill in front of the children. And don't get me wrong, we were not getting along well. but with the understanding that those two variables, we still have an influence. And there was never a bad word exchange. And, after a day was done, it was done. Now, Christian, my son's getting married, and it'll be this August.
Oh,
and
congrats.
Jocelyn's coming into town.
Fantastic.
And we haven't spoke, but I do know this. I'm not, Jamie's a little nervous about, but she's really not.
Jamie, by the way, is his fiance. You're getting married next year.
The only one wild card is April that I'm worried about, because that could be different.
Really?
Who knows? But my point being is that there won't be any. It's not going to be awkward for myself and Jocelyn, because the years have graduated.
Yeah.
And we're both on different levels. And you asked, did we have those conversations? We didn't need to. In between then and now, we didn't need to. It was, things worked out and progressed the way it should.
The reason I asked, I remember my husband, when we got back together, and he was like, is it going to be weird for when my boys get married and I haven't talked to this one for all these years? I'm like, no. And
Why
it
would
wasn't. Because they just got married. And I'm like, see, because there's respect.
Yeah.
There's respect for your son, daughter, whoever it may be. And it was high and actually
But
very,
did
very
you know
kind.
her before?
No.
Well,
And in fact, he hasn't talked to her. And
why would you champion the cause to make it awkward then?
well, correct. I think it's he knew that I was going to be. He just didn't know how it would be or how he would feel, right? And then when his youngest son gets married, he's like, well, how will this be? And so, you think about these, for all of you that have been married again, divorced, you have children, you might be thinking these things. And this is why I wanted to bring it up, because we're in that position. You're in that position. Jocelyn's coming back to town. You said April might be the wild card?
Well, she could be. I mean, there's variables to each one. Oh, I do too. And there's variables to each one of those relationships. But in the back of your mind, you got to understand, you're not important in these events.
Yeah.
If you make that event about you,
Yeah.
then you are a piece of poop.
Yep. That's
Because
that narcissistic mentality.
That event is if there's opportunity for exchange of word, you got to be a better person.
Yeah.
It's not your event. It's
Right.
not your. I, with all sincerity, your partner at that time was your partner. The reason you're not together is for a multitude of reasons. It does not need to be shared anymore. You already know the answers and the reasons. So why bring it to the table again?
Amen.
If you believe that it's not going to work, just stay away.
Yeah.
But do it respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
Don't engage in conversation. Why would you want to build the opportunity for failure?
Right.
Build your opportunities for success. And you know what those are. I know what those are. I was married to the partner.
Right.
So I know those. I know what buttons to push and not push. Yep. I know that's nuclear launch. And I know when this over here is put your seatbelts on. This one's put your seats back and put your chair table up. And I got this one over here. We're going to float in the sky.
Yeah.
So, choose whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do that respectfully.
Respectfully. That's the biggest thing you can learn from that. Well, congratulations on Christian getting married. And then you mentioned Jamie. For those, and Jamie was supposed to be here with us today, but she's very similar to me, where you're a hard charger, you go, go, go. A lot of stress, a lot of responsibilities that have been put on her before and now. We'll show some pictures. You two met how many years ago?
Oh, whoa. 15? 13?
13?
Well,
Yeah.
no, we met 15 years ago. Hold on. Yeah, it's about 15 years. And we didn't, for the first year and a half, we never dated. I mean, we saw each other, went to a couple events together. We weren't dating, but she refused to date me for whatever reason. She did. Honest.
Really?
Oh yeah, I pursued her for a couple of years before.
Did she say why she wasn't?
Well, she had her reservation. She didn't know who I was. She had an idea that I was some kind of playboy or out doing whatever, and it took time for that to gestate. And she's very respectful. She was dating somebody else and just didn't give me the time of day. Which I respect that. Mm-hmm. Didn't mean I stopped, but it all worked out. She's definitely my yin to yang, because you've always got to have somebody that best suits that. Complements your personality. Yes. We both complement very well. She knows we work so well together in this regard that it's no longer looks, it's energy.
Yeah.
And this energy is, I could have a smile on my face and I could be exactly the same way, but she feels it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
When you really know someone. Yes.
That's amazing to me. that is amazing. We never exchange harsh words. When we have heated discussions, they're not yelling and screaming.
You just said
And
discussions, which is huge.
You know what the most beautiful thing about that is? When one of us have had enough and things are going to get to the other direction, I got to excuse myself.
Oh my gosh, I was just going to say, I do.
I have to go outside or I have to do whatever.
That's respect, though.
And I'll go out in the garage and my thing is I like to talk to myself or yell and scream and get it. I got to get that energy out. And it's, sounds ridiculous, but it's a really good way. Just get it out. And we may not see each other there's no reason to come back and forth. Okay. We're not, oh, you okay? Am I okay? No, we've exchanged. An hour later, come back and talk. You know what we're not talking about?
What caused the issue?
We already know.
Right.
We already know what the answer is. We already know what caused it. And the remedy, we already know what the remedy is. It should have never happened. We know why.
Yep.
That's beautiful because not having to go back, we've never gone backwards.
Good.
Mind you, we've never had a discussion about an argument we had before. There's always been reminders. Excuse me, a little cold. The reminder is, and she checked it, and very good. Jamie's very good at doing this for me. Is, I can be a dick, meaning that I get wound up and aggressive, the energy, and then you're going to laugh because you'll understand this. If you've been in a dressing room with a bunch of sharks for 40 plus years, 50 plus years, but a genuine shark from the age of 11 or 12, a genuine shark. You've got all these kids. Now, they don't feed the same at that age.
Right.
But we're still sharks. As you progress, when you get into the junior hockey up to the age 16 and on, if there's a little bit of blood in the water and you do not react, you are now feed for all the other shark frenzies. So your tongue gets sharp and your reactions are instantaneous. You know what ends up happening? Nothing passes through the heart. It comes from here, out the word hole, and doesn't pass through the heart.
Right.
Even to this day, when I do it, I go, because it's so instantaneous. You're so razor sharp.
That's what you knew.
And it's some of it's really brutal.
Yeah.
And as soon as I do it, it's like, I
Breathe.
apologize.
Right.
I didn't mean to, but then there's days when, I get wound up with it, and she goes, "You know what I told you before?" Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it. So
yes, darling.
she's not upset with me.
Right.
She's reminding me, and I ask her, remind me, tell me.
Call me on it.
Call me. No, stop me on it because I'm mad enough to take it.
Yeah.
I don't find that insulting. I thank you because you're right.
It makes you a better. Jim says the same thing to me. He's like, "You are the first woman." He'll smile and he'll come back and kiss me on the forehead and go, "I know." And I'm like, "Right. Look, when all that's happening, there's no reason to keep doing this. One trying to get better than the other, and then up that."
Fruitless.
It's so ridiculous. Again, I hope you learn from this from your own relationships. Step away from it. Each of you needs some time. Come back, and then don't just keep at it. Move on past it. Acknowledge it. Take ownership to it.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then move on beyond it. Okay. So let's come back to this. So
Yeah,
again,
okay, fire away.
we've got a
Rapid
handful
fire,
of
no
things.
fire.
So we know he's a good cook. Okay. We know that if you want a good steak from him, I hope you know that when he got out of hockey, which by the way, I don't know if you know this, but it wasn't a hockey injury that ended it. It was on a motorcycle.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Your pelvis?
Well, it was a multitude of things. My the pelvis isn't a bone. It's got two ligaments on either side, and I had separated the front and the back. So I had a plate in the front and a plate in the back that sealed me up. My left knee dug into the ground, and this is a whole different story. So we won't get into it, but it took me about a year to recover.
Yeah.
Legitimately, I was in a wheelchair for a long time. I was in a hospital bed at the house for a couple months, so it was a long recovery.
You're lucky to be alive.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Here's raw for you. Out of all that, right? The doctor said, when I got to the emergency room, I'm signing all these blood transfusion things, and give me the real deal. Would you like painkillers? No, my adrenaline's real high. I need to know what's going on. Well, if you keep bleeding, you got about 10% chance of living. Yeah, good one. Never thought it crossed my mind. Get past that. All right, and then The other thing is everything going to work properly? Is you're going to be able to walk whenever? Nah, not going to worry about that. But then the bomb got dropped. You know what the bomb was? I had separated the nerve that goes from underneath your scrotum all the way back to the nerve that goes back to the base of your spine. That had been severed. So there was no erections to be had. Zero. And I asked the doctor, I go, all right, so what do you mean?
Is this going to work again?
He goes, it may or may not. And I go, well, so is it going to gradually? And I go, no, it's going to digress 1 millimeter a day back to your spine and grow back 1 millimeter a day. All right, that's the longest freaking 8 months I've ever been through.
Oh, my
God. Out of all of that happened, I'm 33 years old going, good God. Well, now what I'm...
That's a... Well...
So that right there, out of all that was the most difficult thing to deal with because the other stuff, that's all physical and mental.
Right.
I can get over that. There's no way. This is a whole different kind of physical because I can't heal my nerves.
Viagra's not helping that.
Oh, no, it's because there's a disconnection.
Exactly.
You know, pump. No, go ahead. Next question.
But again, I don't know if you all knew that. Well, and I couldn't find the picture. I was telling Jamie I was trying to find it, but I think one of the first times that I ever worked with you from a charitable standpoint was for a Bikers for Babies event for March at Imes when I was at WIL.
I have a
picture of you and I on a bike, and I don't know. I can't
have
find
a whole collage that I was presented to after that, and you and I were on that collage. I should have brought it.
I was looking through, my husband and I were looking through a bunch of stuff last night. I'm like, where's that picture of me and Tony? I'm like, so do you ride anymore?
I still have my bikes.
You do?
I do, but I haven't ridden, and I'll tell you why. I don't have time. It's not because I don't want to.
Okay.
I am very staunch with this, meaning I'm not going to do it because, I have a bike.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it because I want to.
Correct.
But priorities have changed.
Yep.
And my priorities, and I'll always stick to my priorities. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to. I mean, if I don't want to go to work, I don't have to go to work. But I know I have to go to work because this thing right here is going to go skatey.
Idle minds.
And again, going back to Chaser, you need to make sure you stimulate what's important in your life to maintain what you have physically.
Amen.
Anyways, what I have the bikes, just I got no desire.
Yeah.
They're still there.
We're not on it a lot, but just finally, because we've never done it from a charitable standpoint, we are doing we'll actually put it up on the screen here, the third annual Dudes Playground Poker Run. So for disabled veterans, I was like, we're all in for. That's coming up June 21st, by the way, at noon. And we've been telling you for the last couple of months, we want to make this epic, raising money for those true heroes. So it's $10 a poker hand, and they have a 50-50. We're going to do the live broadcast, by the way, at noon, and then we're all going to head off at 1 o'clock, 5 stops, and then come back and find out again who had the best hand. Some great food. Thank you, by the way, to Trattoria Giuseppe down in Imperial, as well as, really good food, as Silo, which is right near that Waterloo, Illinois area, and Bandanas. Thank you for all you're doing. Free drinks, entertainment from Dos Amigos, and then a sparklers display at 9:15. It should be a good time.
Sparklers display?
That's what we have to say.
Oh, okay, sparklers. I got you. Insurance purposes. So it's a dude's ride? So Steve Buscemi will be there, John Goodman, and who's the third on that one?
No, it's that dude. Have you met Dude? That's Dude, by the way.
Well, I mean, I was just going
that
back
dog
to the
is a
movie.
wolf.
Well, it really
is. It has wolf in it, by the way. But yes, the whole place.
Every dog has wolf in it, by the way.
Do they?
Well, absolutely. They all descend
they descend from it,
absolutely.
Yes. But I don't remember what type of wolf that Dude has in it. But no, Dude, the whole playground, it's called Dude's Playground. But
it's for Buscemi and
it's
Goodman.
for our veterans.
The third wheel of the movie? Come on, third wheel. Steve Buscemi, Goodman. They're at the bowling alley. That's an infamous movie. I know you.
I don't know. I'm not a big movie.
This one is impossible. Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, you're too young.
She's
anyway.
a child.
I'm going to leave you with that because somebody's going to. I can guarantee.
What is it? Oh, my husband would know. Big Lebowski.
You don't know the Big Lebowski?
No, because I'm really...
Shame on you. Can take this mic off, please? I gotta go.
No, I know of it. Jim's at home going, yeah, honey. I've told you about that movie.
Snapshot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, God love you. Okay,
yeah,
just checking.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just not...
Major League?
Yes.
Okay, good.
As much as you say, you're busy, I need to tell, just like Jamie has to, I need to tell myself to slow down and actually just sit and watch a movie or watch TV. It's just constant work. Keeping this... Right?
But that's part of this.
I know, you're right. The balance has to happen.
But no, take all the balance out. There's certain movies that you need to watch because it's part of pop culture.
Okay.
Monty Python, the
Yep,
Holy Grail.
true.
You may not
Yep.
enjoy that, but don't want to be left out of the conversation because it's going to come up. Slapshot, you may not
Yeah,
enjoy.
yeah.
You need to watch
Yeah.
it. Major
Okay, so
League,
Big
you need to.
Lebowski.
There's different movies that
I'm gonna
have
be
different
forced to watch this,
cult classics.
Miranda.
Rocky Horror Picture Show when
Yes.
it came out,
Have you seen that live at the Fox?
I have.
Okay.
Now, when I first
Just
saw
go
it, I
once.
didn't like it. The second time, I didn't like it. The third time, I didn't like it. The fourth time, I didn't like it. But after a graduation of time,
Oh, you have
pretty
found
cool.
yourself to like it?
And then I've got toast and rice, and
Yeah, right?
you know, I mean, that's
Because otherwise, yes, you'll sit there in the theater going, "What is? I'm left out of this.
don't
What
be
is
left
that?"
out.
You're
Don't
right.
be left out. Anyways,
All
next
right.
question.
So you have an artist living inside you, makes huge art projects that he puts throughout his yard and driveway.
I do. I've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex that's it's like 10 foot tall.
Really?
Oh yeah, I got a Sasquatch, you know, and he's now he's a silhouette, but he's got all the hair. Like I got all the this hair. There was a store that was closing and it had all the hair. No, it's got real hair, and he looks pretty awesome.
You have a dinosaur in your front yard.
Yeah, he's about 12 feet. I'll send you
Wait,
pictures.
what? Yeah, what area do you live? I know you used to live in Defiance.
Well, right in the middle of this. No, I live in Defiance.
You are still in
Yeah,
Defiance?
yeah.
Okay, so if you're in Defiance and you see a
You
big
won't be able to see it.
dinosaur, oh,
Right,
you're hidden
you,
down.
You won't be able.
Okay.
Every UPS and FedEx driver's seen it.
I need
Absolutely.
a picture of it.
Yeah, I've got minions that I made.
Of course you do.
I mean, the list goes on.
All right, what movie were you in? Was it a Western?
Oh, it was called Defiance.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a Western, and it was shot down at the old Daniel Boone home.
yeah.
And it's a skill set to find it, but I was awful. God, I was terrible.
What did you play?
I was the father of a youngster. The whole movie is built around the youngster, but I was the beginning of the movie where I get killed and he avenges my death. And oh my God, my act. I mean, I could ride a horse, do all that other stuff, get dressed up. But terrible actor. Oh my God.
How long ago
I
was
thought,
that?
oh, I'll be able to do this. Don't ever think there's no such thing as jumping into something unless you've been in the minor leagues. I mean, I wasn't even in the minor leagues. I was in freaking amateur. I wasn't even
how long
amateur. I
ago
was
was this?
peewee. Pardon me?
How long ago was this?
Oh, 25 years ago.
We got to find this.
25 years
All right,
ago.
my intern. Oh, look, what was it called?
It was called
Defiance?
Yeah, but not the one that you're thinking of. The one that's
Yeah,
really good.
Yeah, not that
That's
one.
not the one.
Again, folks, if you're just tuning in, this is Tony Twist. We're going through some things you might not know about the Twister. Okay, we know this. He was at the best at his job, but it's no matter what hockey team he played for because he studied his craft, prepared his body, and prepared his hands every day. So if you don't know something, I have a feeling you're very similar to my brother. You're going to find it out. You're going to research to the nth degree, and then next time I see you, you're going to probably know a little bit more than I even know about it.
Yeah, that's important. I think that's everybody's job.
Should be.
It should be your job.
Yeah.
You know, and people always say it's not your job. Don't ever judge. It is your job to judge. It's just not your job to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Because how do you make good friendships and relationships if you don't judge? You need to do that internally.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you have to say it. That's not your job to say it.
Right.
But internally, you must judge. In order to judge, you have to have education.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have any education and you're passing judgment, you're an asshole.
Right.
So
Plain and
again,
simple.
Plain and simple. So there's always avenues and things that you don't think about. You need to research it.
Yeah.
And you can make an intelligent decision. And a lot of times you don't have to make it because it's blatantly obvious that that person doesn't belong in your sphere,
Right.
in your realm. But it's very important that you do that education. Yes, I do that. And say I approach my game and approach what I did for a living. That's my livelihood. There was nobody a student of the game of what I did than me. I trained accordingly. I watched video. I collected video. I made video. I knew you. I outside of if I could find out who your kids and wife were,
Yep.
I wouldn't do it because it's not relevant. But what is relevant? What time do you come to the arena?
Yep.
You know all this. What I watch you in warm up. How do I get in your head? Oh, I'll skate the red line, split it, and if you bump into me, you and I are going. If I think I've got you upstairs, I'll sit at the red line, I'll stretch, and I can do the split. So I would intimidate you, and I would stare at you, and I'd talk to myself, and I'd be, and I'd be stretching, and the stretching that I could do is intimidating itself because I've got splits going both ways.
You still do splits?
Oh, absolutely.
I love this.
And the look and the intensity, it's real. Don't get me wrong. But it's on purpose.
Yeah.
There's some some warm-ups, I wouldn't touch the puck because I knew the other guy was looking, so I just skate the blue line.
Oh, that's a good point. Yep.
Because I want to be in
Getting
their
to their
head.
Yeah.
Those are all study pieces.
Well, and think about that in life. That's the thing that I've been teaching my interns is don't phone it in. Research to the nth degree because that
Fire them if they phone it in.
Well, right. Well, don't ghost all these things that what could you teach this younger generation from walking this life that you've had?
Okay, well, you got a year?
I know, right?
You have a year? Here's the most important: respect. Nothing in this world can be more important than face to face.
Amen.
Meaning you need to have the ability to look somebody in the eye. You need to be able to have the ability to conversate humanly.
Yep.
Now, the thumb device that's sometimes used to call people is a thumb device because it is an escape when you don't want to. And granted, it has its uses, but when it comes to everyday life,
Let's do this.
when I turn to you and I engage, my body gestures, my posture says everything about. If you and I are having a great interview,
Right. Yep.
we're doing it like this.
Right.
You're looking how I get out the door.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't spend time watching and observing and don't have the ability to extend a hand, look somebody in the eye, it's not relevant.
Well, and
So you need to learn those because that's the most important right now.
Yeah.
In the future, that may not be part of it. Who knows?
I know.
Because
Who knows where this world's
the
going.
evolution of the game again,
Yep.
Darwinism is going to succeed. So, but as it stands now, you're asking me what, please, as an individual, learn how to, and I understand you may not. COVID may have just like put you in a whole different, 19, and these are the years that 19, 20, 21. You got 3 years where you didn't have the opportunity, the formative years of introductions, the formative years of conversation. Those are skill sets that are still prevalent.
Well, and I don't think I don't care where we go with AI and robots and everything. This still needs to be the case. So when people want to do an interview with me, I say, if you absolutely positively have to come to me virtually, okay, it's not my preference. There's a whole thing about the energy, eye to eye. I mean, if you watch this interview, our eyes are locked, and that's the way it should be. You also watch things. I'm teaching my interns of understand your importance of when you greet them. Are they coming in scared? Are they phoning it in, right? Do they care about being here? Tell me these things before they come on to me.
Learn skill set. What it needs to be.
What?
Oh,
Don't do that to my dad.
Sorry, Dad.
Knocking Dad
I didn't
down.
mean to do that. This is a great piece to that.
Yeah.
Schools took out cursive.
I know. What the heck?
Okay, but they reinstituted it. Why did they take out cursive? I don't know. Well, why did they cursive? It's what we should know how to do. But
why did they take out cursive? Why did they take out
But it's been reinstituted.
Well, yeah, but why are all these things that I think are so instrumental in forming the entire student? That band, many other arts, like why? We're just talking about how much he is art. He actually complimented this.
There's too much value put on how you do it.
Yeah.
Because if you're a bad band member, nobody wants to get. If you're a bad trumpet player, a bad drum player, oh, that's terrible. So reducing the opportunity for failure. Life is about failure.
Yep.
Okay,
well,
the greatest people build their empires on failures.
Multiple failures.
And all I can say is that you will never succeed at things you don't try.
Yeah.
Never.
Exactly. Get out of your comfort zone. Tony, by the way, complimented Faith Berger. Thank you.
I like
he was
that.
like,
very well done.
Piece? It's beautiful.
Well done.
She's a great artist. Okay. Tony is the friend everyone in the world wishes they had. He is the friend that you don't see for 3 to 6 months, but the second you see each other, it was like you saw each other yesterday. Love that comment. And that is a true testament to who he is and his
No,
respect.
that's a true testament to friendship. That doesn't happen with everybody, okay?
No, it doesn't.
So understand the friendship part of that. You don't have to be in each other's ass or pocket to be a great friend. Great friends are built over the course of time. And understand that course of time is not patty cake, not me brushing your ass, you brushing mine, and telling me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
If I haven't talked to you for 6 months and we're good friends, we're not talking about anything. Oh, how come? We're talking about catching up.
Right here.
But I need to have the truth from you, because if you're not a good sounding board, you're not a good friend. You need to tell me I'm a dick. You need to say that this is what you need. Those are important. Those are the key importance. And if you're a good friend, you take it properly. If you're not a good friend, guess what?
Yeah.
You're an exchange friend. There's always an exchange.
Oh, yeah.
Emotional for this for that. Exchange friendships, they have value too, but they don't have ownership of friendship. It's all a term. That's just a term. Friendship is just a term. It's an exchange. This and that. Oh, that's my friend. Well, not really. That's an exchange friend. You don't have no depth to it. There's no depth to you. There's no depth to your shallowness there.
Amen. Well, and so here's the thing that people used to say of women have a hard time where they have friendships and then all of a sudden the friend will just ghost them or completely walk away and they're like, why? And it hurts them so much. And I always look at it as, boy, they really taught you. If they so casually can throw you away, what were they doing behind your back in the first place? Women have a hard time with that. And they claim guys are like, whatever, move on. I still think it has to sting if that person you thought was a really, really good friend and then just turned on you.
I don't have a female mind. I can't even for a second put myself. I've learned so much being with Jamie that I'm dumbfounded about how. That's a different program. I'm still stunned.
Well, we got to bring her in next time.
I'm stunned and absolutely horrified of things that I've learned that I was oblivious to because it was never brought to the male's table.
Right.
You got a strap showing. In high school, you're going to arouse the boys. Hold on. A strap never aroused me. I mean, who are you kidding? You got your midriff. You can't do that. Your skirts, what? And then the mentality of going out now, you have to get yourself, all foreign to me because, it never occurred to me I'm a male.
Yeah.
But all the females that I was ever with, I don't think they thought that way. But I guess. That's a whole different thing. So when you ask that question, men on one hand, I tell you what, we're vindictive, but we'll do it quietly, and we're not going to allow space for you to rent free in here.
Yeah,
because that's not going to happen. If you're in my head and you're not paying rent, that's not how. You need to pay rent.
How many friends would you say you could count on either one hand or two hands that you would in fact be the one that would be there at 2:00 in the morning when they needed you?
One hand.
Yeah.
One hand, and might have to take a couple fingers out.
I love this guy. Here. Speaking of injuries,
three-toed sloth.
So Pat, who is a dear friend of ours,
there's one.
How long? I know. I knew he'd be on that hand. He said. Hence me putting his newly surgically repaired elbow back together in February at 2:00 in the morning in his driveway with no shirt on, blood everywhere from ripping his wound open. We repaired it and he went back to bed like it was normal.
No, that happened, and then it also happened when I was coming back in the. No, that was one instance. He did it more than once. Coming back from an event, and I was lifting something up, and I had this big bulge, and it exploded. It hit no hole. It gets even better now. If you've got a weak stomach, don't listen. It splattered on the garage wall, and it was like the size of this, dripping. And I hurried up and ran around the corner because I didn't want Jamie to get sick. And she goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." And she goes, "Oh my God." I hurried up. I called Pat. I said, "Pat, you got to come over here because Jamie's not going to be able to do this." She's, so he came over and, it exploded. So we, cleaned it all up.
Again, he's a firefighter.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was beautiful.
That's a true friend, by the way.
Here's a true friend. We go to Vegas together. And we're rooming, and it's at a Jerry Bruckheimer thing. So I brought him because I needed some layoff from all the actors and the players. Because I don't necessarily bond all that well with all of them. So Pat and I bond great. I come back and my back shaved.
What?
I had a hairy back. We got to go to the pool. And Jamie goes, "Who shaved your back?" I go, "Pat."
Naturally.
He goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I was in the shower. He shaved my back." She goes, "You
guys." He didn't.
Only a real friend shave your back.
Either shave your back or wax it, and then would you say Kelly Clarkson, or what would you say?
All I'm saying is I was in the shower naked, and she's shaving my back, so that's a good friend.
That is the clip right there. We've got to use that. That's got to circulate on social media. All right, we're going to wrap up here in just a bit. We didn't get a chance to get to your comments, but we'll look at those. This is from Pat, by the way. He said, "I am not sure if God would ever make another Tony Twist because he is somewhere between the movie Gladiator and the movie Ted."
Oh, well, you know what, Pat? That's a pretty damn. That's a good mixture because, again, going back to the shark tongue, and I'm going to say the most interesting humans to me are not the ones that have scholarly, that have 3 PhDs. The most interesting people to me are charismatic people that have the ability to look at multiple sides to a circle. A circle's round. but doesn't mean you have to go around in it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple sides to that circle, and be able to observe from the middle, observe from the outside, observe from north, south, east, west, and think of different things, funny or not funny, or just, I love doing that, and sometimes it comes out Teddy. There's no doubt that it comes out Teddy, and more often than not it does, but it comes with a sharper end to it.
Yeah.
So it comes with an intellectual humor, to me, is very stimulating. Intellectual humor, observational humor, I don't find at all stimulating. But intellectual humor, there's a base to it. Greg Giraldo, God rest him, he was a lawyer. He graduated from Harvard, all right, and he decided to be a comedian. His head was strong. That's what he wanted to do. Some of his humor, yeah, it's off color. It's very aggressive. But a lot of it is very intrinsic, very intellectual. There's plenty of
it's challenging, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are like, okay, that just completely fell. I don't even know where to go with that. But then what you should do is what I think you should have, the underlying theme of all of this is what you do with this.
Correct. It's all about the head.
Yeah.
It's all about the head. If you're questioning what you're doing for a living, if you're questioning how you're doing it, there's a reason, okay? Granted, there may be some diagnosable mental issues that you may have to address first, but regardless, you got to be true to yourself. And everybody knows, and I've talked to Chaser about this, we all know what makes us run. It makes us tick. Athletes especially, and because we're so in tune with our body. We need to be, because that's how we made a living. Very in tune, mentally and physically. And again, it may not rhyme. It may not have reason with the general public or with the doctors or whatever, but you know what makes you tick. All right, until somebody proves me wrong, I'm going to continue to do what makes me tick. If I'm upset or what, I'll go in the garage and I'll yell. I talk to myself for an hour in different languages. I will have two sides of a conversation. I didn't really realize until one day Jamie goes, are you okay? And I said, you'll get used to it. Because now she ignores it. Now I'm having conversations in French and English, and I'm different characters, but that's how I release.
How many languages do you know?
Oh, I mean, I'm making them up as we go. I know French,
okay.
I know French and English,
Yes.
but the point being, I'm by myself. I'm not doing that in public. I mean, they take the guy away. But my point is that everybody knows how to release. I get that out, and I feel better doing it. And there's all kinds of things, but know what makes you tick, Hey, that's the most important. This right here makes this run. The day that if you feel sick upstairs, your body will follow. It's going to go, oh, that's what we're doing, feeling sick today? Okay, we have a really bad cough. Oh, you're going to get sick. Oh, you're going to puke. You have the flu now, because he can make you do it.
Yes.
This gerbil turning in here, he can make that happen.
Best friend or worst enemy.
Oh, the gerbil can make it happen.
All right, we're going to wrap up with this. And then I will take a break. If I missed anybody's comments, because I'm sure there's a bunch that have come in, I apologize. He and I, we're going to hash this out. So who would be the most hilarious that you ever played the game with?
Oh, God. Garth Butcher was hilarious. John Cordick was hilarious because you never expected it from him. There's not one person I can. He was funny, but he was so cutthroat and so raw. But that truth, though, that's what made it the worst, is that disguised as a real, but the underlying was, oh shit. I mean, that hurts, because with the layer of funny comes a whole new layer of truth. Again, an intellectual humor, and it's like, oh. Yeah,
He just did that.
You're right. No, but there's a lot. Al McGinnis, one line is Chaser. Oh my God, Chaser's
hilarious.
He's got a one-time, for everything. That guy's got verbal bukkake. I mean, that guy can just spit it out. But again, I could not isolate that. I know that, when I was in Quebec, there, John and I had, plenty of opportunity. Nobody ever saw that side of him ever, because he had problems. That's a different story. But all the guys that I played with, even guys from other teams, going back to the Shark, and a bunch of, you're sharp. Every guy's sharp, except for goaltenders. Curtis Joseph was, and Grant Fuhr was. But
yes.
I mean, they're pretty introverted, and they're not so quick with their tongue, and it's a lonesome game back there.
It is.
You take a 20-man roster and make it a single man's game. You might as well be golfing back there.
There's a lot of mental aspects of
going that's a whole different coverage. But you asked that question, I can't honestly answer, directly, because all of them.
Who would be the one person whether it's playing or just in life, that is the person you would say, that's who I want to have a drink with?
Well, I don't drink.
At all?
Nope.
Ever?
Nope. I might have a beer here and there.
Mocktail. Oh, well, okay,
A
here and there.
mocktail. Here's the thing. I don't want to go for a drink. I'll go for breakfast.
Okay, who would you go to breakfast with?
Well, I mean guys I played with. I do that already.
It could be anybody.
I do that already.
Okay, who is no longer here on Earth that if you had a chance to one last time have a meal with, who would that be?
That I know
Mhm.
or don't know.
It could be either.
Okay, I'd like to go to breakfast with the guy who's alive.
Well,
Well,
obviously.
because it would stink and it would ruin my breakfast having a guy who's dead. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're such a
I
brat.
want somebody to be alive. No, that's a good thought. I don't know everybody that I already do it. I'm already doing it. All the people that I want to do, I'm sharing that time.
Is
with.
there anyone that's no longer here on Earth that you see? Hopefully we don't live with regrets, but is there any regret out there of someone that's passed that you wish you had one more moment with?
If I did, I'm not putting it on this program.
Ah, okay.
I'm open,
Yeah.
but that's mine to keep.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Mine to keep, and I'm not ashamed to say that is mine to keep. And yeah, there is. Absolutely, but that's mine to keep, and
I love
I'll
that.
keep that.
And that's it. And that you have to be willing to speak that. Again, getting real, getting raw with Tony Twist. Are there any really big comments that we want to address before we wrap up? Here's what I'm going to do while we're looking at that. So faith is a big, big part of life for
Faith Hill?
Yeah, faith. No,
Okay.
You know what? We threw a
George Michael. Gotta have faith.
Faith.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of, we have a guy coming in tomorrow that many people thought looked just like him.
Is this real?
This is real water.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
not fake. So
Is
Wham.
this powdered water?
It's just regular. It's reverse
What do
osmosis.
you add to powdered water?
It's not powdered. Who puts powdered water?
There's no. What do you
What?
add to powdered water?
What?
Never mind. Go ahead.
It's
Too
nuts.
easy.
It's nuts. It's reverse osmosis, which many people are like,
Okay.
what the heck is that?
Oh, I feel like
Faith.
amoebas.
Faith. Pick a color. We're going to end with a devotional.
Purple.
See? Now, if I had told you what they said, though, I wonder if you would have picked that. Purple gets picked a lot, but the actual name of it. So 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety,
Okay.
Overeating, Shame, Anger, Depression. If I had said that, which one would you have chosen?
Yeah, all of them. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Just pick me one.
We need them all.
Take a different one.
All right.
Pick what you want.
Anger.
Sure. Bring it.
Okay, we're going to do anger. And then let's take a break. We'll come back to this. And then Miranda's going to let me know. Miranda and Gabriel and Hayden, by the way, are our interns. I want to thank them as well as Jenny and Zach behind the scenes.
Do I have to put a cloak on? or
You
something?
do. Yes.
Okay.
Preacher Twister. When we come back, it is 100 Days to Freedom from Anger and any comments that we missed from you. And then we'll wrap things up for you. It's been a great show here on a Tuesday morning.
My house is so outdated and old. Can you help?
Let's take down this wall and add a support beam there.
Or just replace the furniture.
I love it.
New sofa, chaise lounge, and tables from Carroll House.
What about this bedroom?
Let's tear down this wall.
Or a new bed, dresser, and accessories.
It's like a whole new room.
Get free in-home design, fast free delivery, and free financing too. Skip the remodel. Add new furnishings from Carroll House for your new perfect room. Because you like nice things.
All right, we're going to do the devotional, and then we have a few questions left. Again, you can let them keep coming in. I can send messages to Tony and say, hey, somebody had asked this, and we can always comment to you. I never want you to feel like you haven't been heard. All right, this is called self-control.
Okay.
Day 34 of 100 Days to Freedom, and this one's from anger. Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. This is from 1 Peter 5, verse 8. So have you ever been so angry that you felt out of control? Your heart starts beating fast. Your breathing becomes shallow. You're about to blow your top. Everyone has these moments, and they seem to come unannounced, unplanned, definitely unwanted. If you want to work toward controlling your anger, you have to decide to do so, and you have to decide long before you find yourself in a situation that triggers those emotions. Maybe you've decided to never raise your voice in anger. You might not be 100% successful the next time your anger resurfaces, but work at decreasing the volume, and eventually those efforts will make a difference. And then pray and ask God to help you with the steps you're taking. Again, if you're not into prayer, maybe it's meditation. Maybe, as Tony said, maybe sometimes you have to physically remove yourself from the situation. Take a moment, talk to yourself. If you've already, though, let your anger fly and you need to apologize, do it. Even if time has passed, making amends for losing your temper can begin a new path for your future. You cannot move forward with the decision to control your anger without repairing whatever damage that anger has done. Humility, it's a part of controlling your anger. Owning your part, making things right is part of humility. Finally, recognize what is pushing your buttons and begin to work on those buttons themselves. And as you stay alert to your warning signs of anger, you develop self-control and have the opportunity to change the future. So what's the prayer for today? Lord, I am making the decision to control my anger. Help me recognize when I'm struggling to keep it under control, then provide a way out. Help me to make amends to those I've hurt with my anger. I want to be self-controlled and live a life that reflects you.
And that's where that thumb device that everybody uses, that can be, when you start thumbing those in, you don't always understand. So the observational ability to read people, that's where you can understand, because what you're getting here may not be what's going on.
Amen. And no one understands emotion. It's like, that's not what I meant. Earlier, Richard said, Tony, you were cracking me up. I would agree having breakfast with a dead person would be stinky. Misty says, one of my favorite hockey players and an era of hockey to me. And you said, Miranda Glenn wanted to know your workout routine.
My workout routine's life. Push-ups is, I do push-ups and empty squats where I'm squatting no weight, and I can do them anywhere. So, I mean, sometimes on my lots where I'm doing work in the fleet management business, I'll do push-ups in a lot, and I'll do squats, but then life, because I'm up and down, and my whole life consists of exercise. And again, going back to why I understand what makes me work, and it keeps me fluid. If I take a month down or not exercising, everything goes downwards. My head, my joints, it's like, I really feel that, I mean, I could shrivel up in 6 months if I didn't move.
Of course.
No, I mean, seriously, lock up and lock up.
How's your shoulder, by the way?
They're all usable. They're all usable. I got to get this knee replaced. I'm limping around, but they're all usable. No complaints.
Do you ever think you would own, because you own restaurants and bars again, would you ever do that again?
Not a frickin' chance.
Why?
Adult babysitting services over. The wild card is alcohol. Anytime alcohol is served, and this is a term I use all the time. Hey, would you like to go out for a beer, Tony? And I said, absolutely not. I like you now. What do you mean? I like you now. Maybe after a couple beer,
I won't like you.
I won't like you. So let's leave that alone. You want to have breakfast or lunch? We can do that, but no alcohol. It just brings a different flavor. All of a sudden, it brings out the real. No, it does not bring out the real personality. You know what that is? It's a disguise and an excuse. Don't get me wrong. I'm not black. You don't even drink alcohol. Please do. I mean, that's your decision. I said, for me personally, I don't want to. I have a hard time. If I'm out with a bunch of people, I can have a good time to a point, but then when things get dumb and the conversations don't make sense no more, and you saw. This is why I'm saying, would I own a bar again, or a restaurant? The clear moment in my life was when there's the same guy that kept showing up on Friday nights. And I was always having to kick him out at the end of a Friday night. And every Friday night he had the same conversation, was he's solving the world's problems. And I'd listen, be respectful, and get him out. And this one night I just had enough. And I said, listen, here's my card. Why don't you do this? When you're ready to solve these problems, there's my number. Call me tomorrow morning, because you have all the answers. You've had them for the last 6 months, and I'm tired of hearing it. I don't see you doing shit.
Knock it out.
Now get out. He never came back, and then I said, time to get rid of it.
Do you smoke cigars?
No.
Nope. All that done.
No, I didn't really smoke them to begin with.
No?
I pretended.
Oh.
I didn't like them.
There you go.
I pretended.
See,
I had a cigar store.
Yeah,
So I mean, you gotta play the role a little bit.
Yeah.
I bet there's only a handful of people I could ever say that's ever seen me smoke a cigar.
So if somebody said, I want to hang with Tony, don't ask him to smoke a cigar. Don't ask him would they go work out with you? What would be the greatest thing that a friend would say? Can we go do this together?
Let's go swim naked in the pool. No. No, I'm kidding. That's where you completely know who you are now. No, you know what? I can't. I'm not asking you to do anything until I know you. There has to be a launching pad. Meaning there's got to be conversation. There's got to be some kind of attachment before you go do something. there has to be an attachment. Those relationships aren't built in a sentence or two. They're built over the course of time. And then how it's built and what it's built on will dictate what events or things you want to do. Again, you never be forced to do anything with anybody.
Yeah.
You need to make
Find
the
your
evaluation.
voice and say yes and no.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing
Own
wrong with
that.
saying no.
Yeah, no, not at
And when
all.
you say no, you
Mean
don't
it.
have to defend yourself. You don't. When you say no, it doesn't mean you have to defend the reasons why.
Right.
The answer is no.
If you have to defend, that's the wrong people. To hang
Well,
around.
so why not? Because I don't want to.
Exactly. And leave it at
Well,
that.
why don't you want to? Because I don't want to.
Let's leave it with this. When you're no longer on this earth, what do you hope people say about the people who really know you? What do you hope that they say about you and how you made them feel?
Are you saying I'm going to die?
Never. You're going to be here forever. You will be the oldest living person.
Hold on one
for
second.
the
You
rest-
just said I was going to die?
No.
That's news to me. Oh, no. Wait till I tell my
We're
friends.
never ending this
Wait till I
interview.
tell my friends. Oh, they're going to be shattered. Does Santa Claus exist? No.
Kids.
So what do I want to remember? Whatever you wish. Because here, I'm not putting anything in your mind to remember me by. You will remember me by whatever. It could be some stupid moment. It could be some great thing. It could be it could be a one-liner. What do you want to remember me how? I could be an asshole. Remember me as being that. Because if that's how you remember me that way. And that gives opportunity for shift.
Yeah.
Right?
Shift.
It gives the opportunity for shift left to right. From being a nice guy to a bad guy to a nice guy, or a middle ground. So the opportunity to shift. Why set somebody's mind? Why would you want to put something in somebody else's mind for them to remember you by? Well, that's like asking a question and feeding the answer while the question's being given.
Yeah.
That's not a question no more.
The people who really know Tony, and again, there's a lot of people that played into the things we wanted to ask him, they would all say, as I would say from knowing you for a long time, that in a room with you, you always make me want to level up another notch. And I think that's the greatest
good.
compliment I can give
I
you.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the years.
Thank you so much. Much
Love this
appreciated.
man. And again, anybody that wants to drop a comment, do us a favor and do hashtag replay in case you didn't get a
And
chance
if
to
there's some
watch it live.
questions that
Yeah.
we didn't get to, I'll get to it online. It won't be today.
Yeah.
I've got a full day, but over the course of time,
Yeah.
if you
And I'll
give me
shoot-
those
yeah,
questions,
yeah.
and then I'll shoot them back to you, and you can put them back on the platform.
I will do that. Absolutely.
Perfect. You'll have to go through Jamie.
Jamie, again, love you. Hope you feel better. And we'll have to do this again when Jamie's here with us. All of you, we've got another show coming up for you in 3 hours. If you like coffee, I'm not a coffee drinker, but they're going to make me drink coffee today. I will taste it. That's all I can tell you. Exit 11 Coffee. We're doing a live show. If you love coffee, come on by. I'll be your little barista maybe in the drive-thru. It's the Eureka location that we're going to be at. She's got multiple locations, but we're going to stop by the newest. So we'll see you again, 527 North Central Drive, as you see right there. The 11 Wonders, what it's all about. Breakfast burritos, breakfast bowls. We're going to try it all for you coming up at noon today. We'll see you. Remember what we always ask you to do. The greatest thing you can be in life is kind. God bless you all. Have a great day.